Today is March 14th, 2015. Joining us on the porch are local business owner Sean Campbell and musician Ruby Wood.
The best place for family. What are you waiting for? Where friendships run deeper. Come join us on the porch. So glad you're on the
porch. It feels like spring is upon us, kids. And so is another incredible episode of On the Porch Radio Hour. Hey, thanks for being here. I'm really glad that we have the guests that we do, as I always am. But I think, as I always am, I'm exceptionally glad to have the guests that we have today. In the musician's chair today, we have Rueby Wood, and we'll be getting to hear some more from him later. I want to introduce our other guest, though, Sean Campbell. Sean and I met quite a few years ago when I decided that instead of being a wedding crasher, I was going to be a class reunion crasher. And this seemed like a really good idea because people always say at class reunions, "Oh my gosh, I didn't even recognize you. You look so good." How awesome would it be to hear that, especially from people that have no idea who you actually are and you never really went to school with them. And so there was a class reunion in an undisclosed location for an undisclosed school for an undisclosed year. I won't give away because I may end up at one of your class reunions someday. But there I was at the buffet table, which had all sorts of prime rib and mashed potatoes and gravy. It had other things too, but I was really absorbed in the prime rib and the mashed potatoes and the gravy. So that's where I was spending most of my time. And so was Sean. And so we struck up a conversation about how neat it was to be where we were today since we graduated, and oh man, we have so much catching up to do. And as the night went on, we both started to get really curious of the other. And I felt close enough to Sean that I felt like it was probably time for me to come clean. And right as I was getting there and I was going to explain the whole scenario, I think Sean felt it coming and he did the same thing. And there we were, two guys that never actually graduated from that school or that class. And we were both class reunion crashers. And that's when it started. That relationship has grown, and we've crashed an undisclosed number of class reunions since then, and we've been having a really good time. And what we do is, one of us will show up early and scope out the joint and then send the other one some messages, and then the other one will stroll in, and then we will just, have a random meeting next to the prime rib and mashed potatoes and gravy usually. "Hey man, it's been so good. It's so long, and wow, you look great, and I haven't seen you in forever, and what have you been doing?" And we do that really loudly so that other people get really interested, and then we figure if we're making up that we were part of that class, we might as well be making up who we are and the rest of the way. So we've had some really cool jobs since we've started crashing class reunions. The job that Sean's going to be talking about today is real, and I'm really glad about that, and it's actually very exciting. And what has also come out of our class reunion crashing is that we've been able to brainstorm and talk about some of the really awesome things that are happening in our local community. Not just class reunions, even though I think that they should be put on our community list because everyone should join us in crashing class reunions. It's a good time. We can probably only take on another 5 people because then I think it would get really suspicious. But anyway, we'll talk more about that later. So we have Sean Campbell, we have Ruby Wood, who's ready to give us a song. Ruby, you're on the porch.
The first song I'm gonna sing is "Oh Give Me a Home." Oh, give me a home where the buffalo roam, where the deer and the antelope play, where seldom is heard a discouraging word, and the skies are not cloudy all day.
That song, our guests, and all of the wonderful things that happen here on the porch are brought to you today by Professional Athletes of America. There are many chances and ways for kids to grow into the adults they want to become. One of those opportunities is by becoming a professional athlete. One of the visions that adults hold for children is that children become people that do what they are called to do, no matter what the paycheck looks like. There's a belief that if you are working to make a lot of money, you may not be doing what you are meant to be doing. We at the PAW believe that you should be doing what you are called to be doing, whether you are making money or not. It's okay if you don't make a lot of money, as long as you are happy. And to talk about that, here's one of our members, a true example of a professional athlete that is doing what they love, for the love of the game. Red, welcome to the show. Tell us your story.
Well, you know, Matthew, I grew up in a poor neighborhood where kids dream of hitting the big time. I was one of those kids. I would have never become who I am, never realized my dreams if it weren't for Pa and sponsors like Wood Chips. I'm thankful that when I get up in the morning, I slip out from between the sheets made by the folks at Shredded Tires and under the watchful eye of my porcelain clown doll. Generous support and treats from ice cream trucks let me taste the sweet success I have achieved. I never would have seen the light if it hadn't been provided by the good people of oil lamps. They've been lighting my path since the beginning. And at the end of a hard, well-earned day, it's not to crack open and drink a bottle of water responsibly and in moderation while sitting in one of Kevin's chairs. So the next time you think, boy, that Red sure does have a lot of stuff, know that I've worked hard and haven't just been handed things because I'm famous, and know, too, that I mention these folks because they do good things, not because I get paid to mention them. Oh, I don't want to leave out alien documentaries. Thanks, Matthew.
You're welcome, Red, and thank you. Professional Athletes of America. You remind us that we can be who we want to be and follow our dreams, even if we aren't getting the big paycheck at the end of the day. Check out Professional Athletes of America and reach your goals without that materialistic attitude that comes attached to so many other jobs. As we get close to the announcing of candidates and the debates and fact-finding and mudslinging and attempts to discredit others without building a positive case for themselves, we want to take a closer look at how we can all take a closer look at what is really being said during this upcoming election season. To help us do this, on the Porch Radio Hour's very own political analyst, Tally Marks. Tally, what should we be on the lookout for so we are able to keep a fair and accurate opinion of the possible candidates for this next presidential election?
First, Matthew, I would like to be sure that our listeners know that I can neither confirm nor deny that I may or may not have the most accurate or inaccurate information when it comes to dissecting the words, actions, thoughts, processes, advertisements, campaigns, posters, or any other addresses or public or private displays of our possible presidential candidates, their staff, or anyone connected directly or indirectly to the candidate or their staff. Furthermore, the opinions expressed during this or any subsequent broadcast are solely the opinions of the individuals who are expressing them, not necessarily the views of On the Porch Radio Hour, the Wooden Apple Farmstead, or any of the individuals or entities that support On the Porch Radio Hour, the Wooden Apple Farmstead, their paid staff, volunteers, donors, sponsors, or individuals who support this show energetically, or people who just think this show is cool.
Thank you, Tally. When you are listening to a candidate speak in a debate, for instance, what are you listening for in terms of the important information that we should be making note of, and what is the stuff we should not be paying attention to?
I think it's important to remember right from the beginning that what the candidate is or is not saying is truly up to the listener to interpret. If you are interested in the candidate's views on the budget or wages for employment, then that is what the individual listener should be listening for.
Yeah, But how do we separate the true vision of the candidate from their attempts to make themselves look better by making the other candidate look bad? What can help us determine the candidate's actual real plans for the issues that are important to us?
Is it up to the candidate to decide that for us?
No, but that's what I'm saying. How can we help our listeners understand the actual plans and opinions of the candidates?
I believe that the listeners of this show are of the education and experience level that allows them the freedom to have their own opinions and abilities to dissect for themselves what others, including but not limited to the presidential candidates, are saying. Let's remember that what we learn from conversation is not in the words, but the tone and expression, audible and visual, of the speaker.
So are you saying that our listeners are, on average, more educated and experienced than those that don't listen to our show?
I am simply stating that listeners of any show are capable of listening to presidential candidates because they already have shown that they have the mental, physical, and emotional capabilities to hear and understand what they are listening to.
Similar to the idea that if I looked at a picture and described it to you, you would believe that I have the ability to look at schematics of the electrical wiring of a house and understand them?
I do not have a background in electrical wiring, so I will not comment on your question.
Right.
This isn't about right or left. This is about reaching across the aisle and meeting in the middle. The candidates that we will be voting on may or may not have platforms that fully support or neglect the full or partial views of their political parties. With that said, I think that some folks hold the opinion that it will be an interesting election season, while others believe it will not.
Tally, with the time we have left, remaining, what do you expect will be the hot topic or main issue that voters will be hearing a lot about this election?
With the time I have remaining, I would like to thank you for having me on the show. I would also like to thank the American public for taking interest in our election systems and its components. It is the public that makes their private lives meaningful and complete. In closing, I offer this advice. Listen carefully. Form your own opinions. Ask questions and demand answers. Your votes count. You can make a difference, and together we can rise up and elect the candidate that the majority of voters voted on. Good night.
We can expect more in-depth reporting from Tally as we move into and through the upcoming presidential elections. On the Porch is dedicated to keeping you informed and up to date as we weave through our political webs. That was Tally Marks reporting from our nation's capital. About 2 months ago, Sean Campbell, with the help of a friend, started a website, musicgc.com. And on their website, they are supporting local musicians and musical acts and trying to help spread the word and inform the community about all of the great music that's happening. Sean, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So, Sean, I'm going to dive right in. So you and a friend, Gordy King, were hanging out 2 months ago, or maybe before that, I'm guessing, and started talking about the local music scene, and something inspired you to start this website. Tell us a little bit about that process.
Well, me and Gordy would get together on a weekly basis in his basement and just play guitar and have a few beers, and every time we'd get talking about open mics, and if we wanted to play one, where would we play it, and it seemed to be information that wasn't available. You just learn about open mics from people that have gone to them, or you happen to be driving by a bar that night and say, hey, there's an open mic tonight. Either way, you're kind of unprepared. So the idea behind it was that we create this website that was a central repository of information of the local music scene, so people could just load up the website and see open mics that are available, local bands that are playing at local bars, and just really ease that whole ability to get the information.
Yeah, absolutely. It's only been 2 months. Do you feel like you're getting positive response from your website?
Yeah, we've already... Ed Carpenter is a local musician who's played in a lot of bands around here, and he's already done an interview with us so people can get to know the local artists better. So already local artists are looking at our website, so that leads me to believe, and all my analytics software tells me that people are looking at it too, so it seems to be fitting right in.
Good. When I got an email from you, you sent me an email saying, "Hey man, you should check out this website." I was really excited because it seems like what you are doing with your website is very in line with what we're trying to do on the porch. And we were talking a little bit before the show started about the need for that kind of stuff and having more access points for people to find what they're looking for in the community, especially in music and the arts in general. And so it's nice to know that people are getting more and more opportunity to have more and more access to those kind of resources. How are you accessing then? How are you getting the information to put up on your website? How are you finding artists? How are you finding events?
We've been keeping it completely voluntary, so artists approach us, or if I see an artist out playing, I'll approach them and just let them know the website's there. But we're not big into pressure. We're not making money doing it, so we're not selling it to people.
Mm-hmm.
Local bar owners contact us for the list of their shows, and we'll list the shows even if they aren't local. Most of the time they are, but that gives everyone the voluntary ability to get their information to the people.
That's really nice. Not only because we've experienced that as well, but I think that, especially in this area, we need more of those kind of resources where people can check them out, and it's easy for the musician, it's easy for the venue to be able to access that. How much time do you think you're spending, I don't know, in a week, in a month, however you gauge it, but how much time are you spending getting this information onto your website?
Truthfully, it's a labor of love, so I don't even track the time, but I don't really spend a whole lot of time because I'm friends with a lot of local bar owners and a lot of local musicians. So like I said, they approach me, and I work from home anyway, so someone will just send me a message saying, "Hey, I got a show coming up." All right, 10 seconds later, it's up on the website. So we keep it nice and simple. Like I said, not a business, so we just have fun with it and see what happens.
Sure. How many venues do you think you are posting stuff for at this point, 2 months into the process?
I'd say right now we're only posting for one bar that's a very large local music bar in the area. It's Floody's Bar out in Minetto. They do a lot of local music there. So I'm good friends with the owner, Pat, and he keeps me in the loop of what's going on. We also used to host an open mic out there, which we don't anymore, but he's always been a lover of music, local music specifically. And then every once in a while, Bound for the Floor gets a hold of me when they do local shows around, and I get them posted. And other than that, I'm just waiting for it to spread more word of mouth from artist to artist, and hopefully it takes off.
Yeah, hopefully. And I agree. I think it's a really great idea. If a musician or a venue or somebody wants to contact you and get you information or wants to talk to you more, is there a place on the website that they can go?
Yeah, on the right-hand side, under all the listings of the local shows, and then there's the local open mics. At the very bottom, there's a link you can click on that'll just send an email right to me.
You are also playing music, right?
Yes. Some would call it music.
So you're attending open mics and doing that kind of a thing. How do you feel about that process locally?
Open mics are really what got me interested in the website, because when we did our open mic at Floody's, the musicians almost became kind of like a family. We all got together every week, no matter what the skill level was. And after a while, you were playing more for your musician friends than actually for the bar patrons. But it made for a really tight-knit group, the fun show. And you got to listen to a lot of the same songs over and over again because people love the songs they play. So.
That's right. And that's why I asked, because I feel like that's what happens. People are forming all of these small communities all over. There's open mics in a lot of places that I think people just don't know about. And even if you're not a musician, it's really fun to go and listen. And if you know where all of these different open mics are, you can go hear stuff at Floody's, you can go hear stuff at Old City, you can hear stuff at the music hall. There's just a ton of places people can go and get good music, and you can bounce around. And it's nice to know that there's a source, there's a resource that people can go and check out and try to find that community.
Yeah, I always tell people it's nice that the information's there, because at my level of musicianship, I can really make a night out of it and embarrass myself at multiple establishments if I stagger it just correctly.
That's right. So you grew up playing music?
I grew up wanting to play music, but as a teenager, I didn't really take the time to learn how to play. I've never been much of a singer. Then Father's Day, about 2 years ago, my daughter and my wife got me my first acoustic guitar, and I started taking it very seriously. And like I said, me and my friend Gordy would play in his basement all the time, and after a while, we just said, all right, we're in the basement every week. I know where your washer and dryer are situated just by memory. I can draw it out for people. Why don't we go out and try to play music out at an open mic? And that's really where the idea came from. And I'd say my music love has always been there, but my actual playing of music probably started when I was 34.
Going to listen to music, like live music, or?
Oh, well, I've always listened to music. I've always had a real appreciation for artists, but my actual playing of it, or if you could call it that, started at around 34.
Nice. Another thing that we were talking about is growing up in the area, there were venues that we could go to, especially during the summer. You know, there was Chocolate Fest. There's Memorial Day parade and the fair that they have in Fulton. I remember, too, Fireman's Field Days, to Chocolate Fest, you know, events that they have, like that Harbor Fest. You know, they get some local musicians and some bigger name musicians as well. And being able to go to those free events, I had a vision of, this is how I can access free local music. But it wasn't until much later that I started learning about all of the open mics. And so year round, on a weekly basis, on a daily basis, you know, there's places that I can go access local free music. And I think people need to start learning that more.
Yeah, and I think back when we were younger, people used newspapers a lot more, and now we're in the digital age, so the website just made sense, and I can't think of the last time I picked up a newspaper, so the website just made sense. That's
right. Okay, so give us the website one more time.
That's www.musicgc.com.
And that's to be able to access what's happening locally on your schedule. There's an interview that people can watch with Ed Carpenter, is that right?
It's a text interview, so you're just reading it, so It's not that exciting, but it's still pretty exciting.
Yeah, that's cool. It's got good information. And people can access you there, too, if they want to post, you know, whether they're a venue or a musician.
Yeah, and there's also my random musings as to... Every once in a while, I throw a post up there if something piques my interest.
Perfect.
Not always about local music, but whatever's on my mind.
That's right. And that's okay. And that, I think, sparks people to go on there more often and check it out, because they can read your stuff and it's always being updated. I think that's cool anyway, and I'll be doing that. So
I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Sean, I want to thank you for being on the show. I'm really glad you're here, and I wish you and the website a lot of success, and I'm hoping that it can help spark a lot in our community. So thanks.
Well, thank you very much for having me.
All right. You're listening to On the Porch Radio Hour. We'll be back in a few minutes.
What's happening in Central New York is brought to us by iHeart Oswego. The civil rights photographer Matt Herron will give a free artist talk at 7 p.m. Tuesday, March 24th in SUNY Oswego's Marano Campus Center Auditorium. Herron's photographs of the civil rights movement in the mid-1960s have appeared in publications around the globe. The CNY Arts Center hosts a writer's cafe the last Sunday of the month, is currently offering adult painting classes, and presents a dessert theater series continuing March 21st with John, His Story. Visit cnyartcenter.com for more information. The Baldwinsville Theater Guild presents Jekyll and Hyde, the musical. The show runs for 7 performances beginning Friday, March 13. Visit www.baldwinsvilletheaterguild.org for more information. The CNY Playhouse presents Neil Simon's play God's Favorite. The show runs for 10 performances through March 28. Visit cnyplayhouse.com for more information. The Oswego Music Hall presents Jeff Haynes, who performs March 21st at 7:30 p.m. The open mic is hosted by Jim Schaefer on Friday, March 20th at 7 p.m. There's a new songwriter series called The Hook, presented by the Oswego Music Hall on Friday, April 3rd, featuring Michael Judge, Colleen Coteau, and Scott Regan. Visit oswegomusichall.org for more information on all of these shows. The Red Room Sessions at the Wooden Apple Farmstead is a time for songwriters, musicians, and anyone else who wants to build their musical skill and knowledge to get together. We share songs we are working on, bounce musical ideas off each other, and we usually have time to just play a little music. This is a supportive environment where all levels of songwriting and musical experience are welcome. It is the final Sunday of each month. The next session is March 29th at 6 p.m.
Ever since Rueby Holsapple was in utero in 2006, he has been involved in music. He's been listening, he's been singing, and now he started performing with an instrument as well. I'd like to welcome you to the show.
Okay.
So thanks for being here, Ruby. How are you?
Good.
When is your first memory of wanting to sing and play an instrument?
Well, I don't think I have a first memory.
Do you think that's because you've just been doing it your whole life?
Yeah, I think I've always wanted to.
Yeah, that's probably true. You're currently playing the ukulele.
Mm-hmm.
And you've learned how to play a little bit on the guitar.
Yep.
And you're doing a lot on the piano as well.
Yep.
Is there an instrument that you haven't started playing that you really want to learn someday?
Trumpet.
The trumpet. Cool. So what is it about the trumpet that makes you want to play?
I like the way it sounds and I like how you play it.
So when you started performing at open mics and at festivals, do you know how old you were?
5.
So you've been doing that for about 3 years now.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Do you have a favorite memory of a performance at an open mic or at a festival that you want to tell us a story about?
The most recent festival I went to.
Tell us about that one.
Every year we try to go. It's in Kansas. And I sang Home on the Range and Somewhere Over the Rainbow. So...
At the festival on a stage?
Yeah.
How many people do you think were in the crowd?
A lot.
Yeah, like hundreds probably, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So you sat on a stage in front of hundreds of people and you sang.
Yep.
Did you play an instrument too?
Yes, I didn't.
Yeah, you had to think about that one, huh? You'll probably start doing that soon, though, at that festival, huh? Because you're performing while playing an instrument and singing at open mics now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you play the ukulele solely when you're playing an instrument?
Yes.
Yeah. So when you're performing, it's just with the ukulele right now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do you have a favorite song that you perform?
I don't know.
What do you think is your favorite part about performing?
I just like being on a stage in front of people.
Yeah, that feels pretty good, doesn't it?
And doing stuff,
sure.
For the people.
Election season's coming up soon. That's pretty cool. Yeah, I think we do have a candidate here. For the people, of the people, by the people. It's not just music that you're performing on stage, though, is it?
No, I've been doing a lot of musicals lately.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Are you gearing up for one now, or have you done any within the last...
I'm gearing up for one now, and I'm gearing up for 2.
Okay.
The first one is Narnia, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
Mm-hmm.
And the second one is Seussical.
Awesome. And so you're performing and singing in both of those?
Yes.
That'll be a lot of fun. What inspires you to be in a musical as well?
The same thing as the same thing that I told you about the music.
Sure, it's for the people.
Mm-hmm.
I get it.
Mm-hmm.
I get it. Do you enjoy performing as a solo artist, or do you enjoy more being part of a group?
I enjoy both a lot.
Yeah, they both probably have their pros and cons, huh?
Yep.
Do you have another song that you'd like to perform for us?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, what are you going to play?
I'm going to play Clementine. In a cavern, in a canyon, excavating for a mine, dwelt a miner, 49er, and his daughter Clementine. Oh my darling, oh my darling, oh my darling Clementine, you are lost and gone forever, dreadful sorry Clementine. Thank you.
Thank you, Ruby. I'm so glad that you were able to be on the show tonight, and we look forward to hearing more from you in the future.
Yep.
Yes, sir. Have fun.
Okay.
All right.
My last but not least song is Don't Worry, Be Happy. Here is a little song I wrote. You might want to sing it note for note. Don't worry. Be happy. In every life we have some trouble, but when you worry, you make it double. Don't worry. Be happy. Ain't got no place to lay your head. Somebody came and took your bed. Don't worry. Be happy. The landlord say your rent is late. He may have to litigate. Don't worry. Be happy. Ain't got no cash, ain't got no style, ain't got no girl to make you smile, but don't worry. Be happy. 'Cause when you worry, your face will frown, and that will bring everybody down, so don't worry. Be happy. There is this little song I wrote. I hope you learn it note for note. Don't worry. Be happy. In your life, expect some trouble, but when you worry, you make it double. Don't worry. Be happy. Thank you, everybody.
So here at On the Porch Radio Hour, we've been going through our listener mail. We've seen a consistent request for sound effects. First of all, we provide quality programming and in-depth interviews. We don't need sound effects. And although we deliver high-quality programming, it's done through a very low budget. We can't afford big deal sound effects equipment or personnel. However, we want to honor our listeners and their requests. So we've developed a bit that includes sound effects. And we've done it on our very low budget. We have recruited 2 willing sound effects paraprofessionals. Our listeners have also been sending requests for an audio tour of our farm. So we've asked ourselves, why not grow 2 trees with 1 seed here? Prepare yourselves, folks, for our sound effects tour of the Wooden Apple Farmstead. Let's start right here in the house. Then we don't have to go very far. So as you enter and you walk by the wood stove, you're going to enter into the kitchen. Where, since it's a farm, there's always something eating in the kitchen. Now we're gonna turn right here as we walk through the kitchen. We're gonna walk down the hall, and we're gonna walk by the Wooden Apple Farmstead's Visual Quest tattoo studio, where it seems like I'm working on a tattoo currently. Let me get the door open. We'll let me get to my work. It seems like I get a little shy there with the machine in hand. So we're gonna go through the side porch and back out onto the front porch where the kids are always playing. They call it the playroom. We call it the front porch, but the kids call it the playroom. There's always kids playing on the front porch and breaking things, apparently. And then we walk up these stairs and enter into the living room where we host our Red Room sessions. It seems like everybody in the Red Room session this evening is very contemplative, and they're writing notes down and being very thoughtful in their process. So now we're going to walk back through the kitchen and head back out of the house. Now, as we walk up this hill, we're going to take a left, and we're going to strap on some snowshoes, and we're going to head out, and I'm going to show everybody the maple trees that we've tapped, where the sap is currently dripping. And we're gonna crunch on up past these trees and head out back toward the barn. And as we come down into the barn, it looks like it's feeding time for our 4 goats and our horse Reba.
Brr. Brr.
They get really excited when I bring out the hay. Watch this. Okay, I'm gonna throw some hay into the stall through the top part of the door. Watch how excited they get.
Brr. Brr.
One of the things that I love most about being on the farm is all of the snow removal that I've gotten to do this winter. But as we all know, spring is finally, it looks like it's starting to be upon us, and I have to, if you don't mind, I'm going to take just a second, and I'm going to start up the snowblower just to make sure that it's running okay before I put it away. So give me just a second here. I'm going to start up the snowblower while we're up here in the barn. This is why I need to do this, because if I'm going to get the snowblower ready to be put away for the spring and the summer, I need to make sure that it's going to run. I'm going to give it one more shot here.
Snowblower.
Yeah, there it is. That baby's humming. That's good to know. Sometimes we get late snowstorms, so I'm glad that I know that it's still running and running. It's like the Forrest Gump of snowblowers. Apparently, I'm just gonna try to shut it off again here. And I'm just wondering if we've missed anything as we walk back down toward the house. There is something we missed. We're going to strap our snowshoes back on, and we're going to head back up to our garden just so I have to check on the chickens and shut up the coop and collect some eggs. So let's go check out the chicken coop. It's kind of a long walk. We're gonna head back down to the house, and that, folks, is our sound effects department, and it's our audio tour of the farm. So the next time you decide you want to send us a letter and ask about sound effects, think about how that works on a show like On the Porch, and also think about how you can support On the Porch. We want to continue to deliver quality programming and make sure that we're filling your requests. So keep them coming. Thanks.
Applause.
Applause.
Insert applause here.
Follow the moon, she'll bring you home. The light that she sheds is just enough glow to follow the moon. She'll bring you around, through thick or through thin, all up and wild down. She'll take you full, she'll take you empty. You know the rule that she's always changing, so you can do da 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 da. Follow the moon, she'll bring you home. The light that she sheds is just enough glow to follow the moon. She'll bring you around, through thick or through thin, all up and wild down. She'll take you full, she'll take you empty. You know the rule that she's always changing, so you can do da 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 da
Thank you.
Spring is in the air, everywhere, even in Tonkahogen. Spring always does many things for me while I think about my time in Tonkahogen and going back. And one of the things that comes up for me this spring is remembering again the time of getting ready to go pick up Great-Grandpa from jail. Dinner at the diner, milkshakes, home fries, cheeseburgers, and really interesting stories from Great-Grandpa. If you could understand what he was saying, they were really interesting stories. And one story that stands out is the year that we went to pick up Great-Grandpa, and he told the story about the three gentlemen that he met that winter. They were all in a fairly similar situation as him, spending their winters in jail and being let out in the spring. What made their situation different is that they had it figured out that they could travel. They were hobos, and they traveled a lot by train and a lot by hitchhiking, and they would go from town to town. And they really liked Tonkahogen, and one of the reasons they liked Tonkahogen in the winter was because the jail was nice, and Great-Grandpa could cook, and that was his job. They'd put him in jail, and he would cook for everybody, and they enjoyed the food. But this one particular spring, they were telling my great-grandfather the stories about their journey over the last year since the last time they'd been in Tonkahogen. And they were explaining the train trip that they took. And they didn't give a lot of information about places they'd been, just in case somebody decided to tell the stories when they got out, and these three gentlemen would then be incriminated more for things that they hadn't been caught for originally. So they didn't say much about where they'd been. But they were telling my great-grandfather a story about a train yard that they spent quite a bit of time in. And some of the train cars there had been abandoned and were out of service, but just stayed. They stayed off to the side, which is like the Hilton for these three hobos, and they would curl up inside a different train car every night, and they would cook over their number 10 can camp stoves that they would make, and they would cook up potatoes and meat that they'd stolen or had worked for. Sometimes they worked for their food. And they told a story about a gentleman, a young man, they younger than them anyway, and he traveled through carrying a banjo. And he would sit and he would play the music all night long, sitting in front of the number 10 can. And he would sing songs that they knew, and they could sing along, but he also sang songs that they didn't know, and after about a week of listening to him play so much, one of the three gentlemen asked this hobo where he was learning all of these songs, because they heard a lot of songs. They listened to a lot of music while they were out too. But most of the songs they'd never heard before, and he said, well, I'm just singing my life, and as I get to know you, I'm singing your life too. And so he would just sit with his banjo, and what they realized is that this week full of music, hundreds of songs it seemed like, he was just making up as he went along and singing them songs. And then it struck one of the three gentlemen that he realized that he was connecting so much with one of the songs in particular because it was a song that was part of his life. And it wasn't a part of his life that he had shared with this particular hobo since they'd met this time, but they had met prior. And it had been several years before when they were quite a bit younger. And they were both in the same town together. And they had stumbled across each other in a junkyard. And they had decided that they both liked this one particular pickup truck that had a cap on the back, and they both decided to climb into it, and one of them was sleeping there when the other one decided to climb in, and they were both fairly startled to find each other in this pickup truck in the morning. And they became friends for a few days until it was time for them to move on. And they both would return to the same pickup truck every once in a while. They never both returned at the same time again, but they'd always revisited that pickup truck. And this young man had well, not young anymore, but he had written a song or created a song about this pickup truck from when he was a young man. And so that story being shared with my great-grandfather then made him think about when he was younger and when he did similar things before he tried to settle down in Tonkahogen, which meant, staying in an apartment or with family during the non-cold months and then being in the jail during the cold months. And knowing that staying in a pickup truck or in a van, as one of them talked about, he had a van for a while and he would drive and he would stay in parking lots overnight or find abandoned roads or logging roads or roads by rivers or parking lots that people didn't frequent. And he would find ways to stay and live for free, and he would pick up work from time to time. And he got a job once And the store owner where he was working knew it was temporary work, but decided to employ him anyway, and he gathered a whole bunch of canned food and kept it in his van. And when his van broke down, or when he knew his van was breaking down, he parked it on one of these side roads that he discovered that nobody ever frequented. It was an old logging road off of a piece of state land. And there the van sat, and for quite a few months he would find his way back, and he would pull cans out that he had saved, or he would just stay for the night, or he would even stash more food so that he could go back. And great-grandfather enjoyed that story because he did similar things and enjoyed staying in the back of a pickup truck and driving from town to town for a year and picking up work in very much the same way. And out of all of the things that I ever heard great-grandfather say, that was one of them that really stuck with me, because you could see the spark. You could see the stars and the lights really shine through his eyes when he told that story. And I never understood that. I never understood how living that lifestyle could be so exciting for someone. But to hear him retell that story and to think about it as I get older, I realize that that's what some people need. And I think we all need a piece of that somehow. We all need to have a place. We need to have a home, a spot within ourselves that's ours, a spot where we belong. And when we go into that van, when we go into that memory, when we go onto that abandoned road or down a river or into the woods, and we find that one stump that we always return to, or the one abandoned train car that we always return to, or the pickup truck, or whatever it is, park bench, then whether we know the words or not, we can always sing, "This is my home. This is my only home. This is the only sacred ground that I have ever known. Should I stray in the dark night alone, rock me, goddess, in the gentle arms of Eden. Rock me, goddess, in the gentle arms of Eden." You've done it. You've been through another exciting episode of On the Porch Radio Hour, and we want to thank you for being here. We want to thank you for making that journey with us. We want to thank Sean Campbell for being here and doing the great things that he's doing by supporting local music and giving people a place where they can go and find out where they can share themselves or listen to other people share themselves. So thanks for being on the show, Sean. We want to thank everybody that's listening at Concert Window. I'm so glad that you were here and you were able to watch the show live. We want to thank everybody else in the audience for being here live on site at the Wooden Apple Farmstead. And I want to thank everybody that's listening to the podcast too on our website. It's been really great. We've enjoyed the journey and we're looking forward to more. Have a great night.
On the Porch is a production of the Wooden Apple Farmstead, with host Matthew Wood. Our musical director is Gina Holsappel. Our stage manager is Ray Monet. Our sound technician is Maxwell Wood. Contributing writers for this show include Matthew Wood. Special guests include Sean Campbell and Ruby Wood. Find information about past shows, being on the porch, and much more online at ontheporch.weebly.com.